Have you ever been to a concert and, actually felt the music in your chest? Or just wondered how your favorite rock band makes those massive, epic sounds? Well, today we're going to plug in and crank it up because we're exploring the incredible technology that powers the whole world of rock and roll. Let's dive in.
It really all boils down to this one simple question. How does the tiny little vibration of one metal string get turned into a sound so powerful that it can reach tens of thousands of people? The answer? Well, it's a really cool journey through science, engineering, and a whole lot of creativity.
All right, first up, let's look at the actual instruments. These aren't just things for making noise. They are seriously specialized pieces of technology. Each one has a very specific job to do in building that classic rock sound.
So at the very heart of it all is the electric guitar. You see, early on, musicians had a huge problem because their hollow body guitars would create this awful howling noise. It's called feedback, whenever they turned up the volume. And that's because the hollow body would just vibrate along with the amplified sound, creating this crazy, uncontrollable loop. The big game changer was the solid body electric guitar. With no big open space inside, it could get super loud without all that unwanted noise. The real magic, though, are the magnetic pickups. They're basically just tiny magnets wrapped in wire that sense the string's vibration and turn that little wiggle into a weak electrical signal.
But a guitar by itself doesn't make a rock band. You need a powerful foundation, and that comes from what we call the rhythm section. So you've got the electric bass, with its super thick strings, and it locks in with the bass drum to create that deep, driving pulse you can feel. Then the snare drum gives you that sharp crack on the beat, and the cymbals keep everything in time. Together, they're basically the engine of the song.
And hey, for a more modern twist, a lot of bands now add synthesizers to the mix. These things are really cool. They're electronic instruments that don't even use strings or drumheads. Nope, they generate sounds completely from scratch, making everything from these spacey atmospheric textures to sounds that honestly don't even exist in nature. Okay, so we have our instruments and they're creating these tiny little electrical signals. But how do we get from that tiny whisper to a roar that can shake a whole stadium? Let's get into the science of amplification.
So here's the entire journey of that sound. The string vibrates. The pickup turns it into a weak electrical signal. And then comes the most important part, the amplifier. The amp takes that tiny signal and boosts its power thousands of times. Finally, it sends that powerful signal to a speaker, where a cone pushes air back and forth, creating the actual sound waves that travel all the way to your ears. Now, not all amplifiers are created equal. For decades, that classic rock sound came from vacuum tube amps. They use these old-school glass tubes that get hot and create this really warm, rich, and kind of gritty sound that musicians just love. But more recently, digital amps have become super popular. They use powerful computer chips to perfectly imitate the sounds of all those classic tube amps, which means a musician can have hundreds of different sounds all in one box.
So why does loud rock music feel so powerful? Well, it really just comes down to physics. A sound's volume is determined by its amplitude, which is just the size or the height of its sound wave. Rock music uses extremely high amplitude waves. We're talking literally bigger waves of air pressure hitting your body, which is exactly why you can physically feel the kick drum in your chest at a concert.
Getting loud is one thing, but getting a unique, signature sound, well, that's what makes an artist really stand out. And this is where musicians basically become inventors, using all sorts of special tools to shape and color their sound in really creative ways.
And the main tools they use for this are effects pedals. Yeah, those are the little colorful boxes you see on the floor at a guitarist's feet. Just by stepping on a switch, a musician can instantly and completely change the character of their instrument's sound right in the middle of a song.
Okay, maybe the most famous rock effect of all time is distortion. This powerful sound is created by an effect called clipping the electrical signal. So imagine a perfect, smooth, round sound wave. A distortion pedal basically pushes that wave so hard that it can't fit anymore, so it literally chops the top and bottom off, making the wave jagged and square. It's this electronic overload that creates that classic, gritty, fuzzy, aggressive tone that is the absolute backbone of rock and metal music.
Another really essential effect is delay. This is basically a high-tech echo machine. The pedal digitally records a note or a chord the instant you play it, and then it plays it back a moment later. You can control how many echoes you get and how far apart they are. This can make a single guitar sound absolutely huge and create some incredible atmospheric texture. So now that we've got the instruments and the sounds, how do we capture it all for an album? Well, we head into the recording studio, a place that's kind of part laboratory, part art space, and it's filled with some amazing technology. You know, the biggest invention in studio history might just be multi-track recording. See, before this, a band had to play a song perfectly, all at once, to get it recorded. But with multi-tracking, the drummer can record their part first. Then the bassist can listen to just the drums and add their part. A singer can even record their own voice over and over again to create harmonies, making one person sound just like a full choir. It's a total game changer.
A modern studio is built around a few key pieces of tech. You've got these incredibly sensitive microphones to capture every little detail and huge mixing consoles to balance all the instruments. But the brain of the whole operation these days is the Digital Audio Workstation, or DAW. It's really powerful computer software that lets engineers literally see the sound waves and edit them with a mouse, fixing tiny mistakes and just perfecting the performance.
And what's so incredible about all this is that the technology has become accessible to pretty much everyone. The power of $1 million studio from the 1980s can now fit onto a laptop, and that has caused a revolution in music, allowing artists to record and produce professional quality hit songs right from their own bedrooms.
All right, for our final section, let's look at how that perfectly polished music gets from a studio computer or a live stage all the way into your ears.
Man, the way we listen to recorded music has changed so dramatically. It all started with vinyl records, where the music was literally carved into physical grooves. Then came cassette tapes, which finally made music portable. The 80s brought us the clean, digital sound of CDs. And today, of course, most of us just stream music as digital data right over the internet to our phones. And when it comes to the live experience, wow, it's a massive technological production. The sound for the audience comes from the PA system, those huge stacks of speakers designed to cover the entire venue. But it's also a visual show with computer-synced lights, giant video screens, and sometimes even pyrotechnics, all designed to make the concert a totally unforgettable spectacle.
Have you ever noticed performers wearing something that looks like earbuds on stage? Well, those are called in-ear monitors. The volume on a rock stage can be seriously, dangerously loud. So these give each musician a perfect, crystal clear mix of the band sent directly into their ears. It lets them hear exactly what they need to, but it also protects their hearing at the same time. Pretty smart, right?
So as we've seen, from the very first solid body guitar, all the way to the complex software in today's studios, rock and roll has never just been about the music. It's always been about pushing the limits of technology to create new, exciting, and powerful sounds. And all of this leads to a final, really fascinating question. Because technology is not stopping. We're on the verge of AI that can help write songs, virtual reality concerts you can attend from home, and even instruments that are 3D printed into shapes we've never even seen before. So, what will the next evolution of rock music be? Because in the end, technology just provides the tools. What truly matters is the creative vision of the artists who use them. And as technology keeps evolving, the future of rock music is really only bound by the limits of our own imagination.